we weren't thinking far enough ahead, but we found everybody was saving these beers, Black Imperial IPA, but people are holding on to it. And so I still have some. So it'd be interesting. I thought we could crack that because I thought you were talking about aged beers.
That's always a big conversation. So what really made you transition from the Black IPA?
Wait, Jim, let's do a little intro.
We started off way hot on this.
Yeah, I know.
Just start over if you want.
No. That was all recording. We just
we're good. That'll be the hot take. Let's start off the cold open.
Cheers.
You've stumbled on into the Tap Takeover Podcast.
It's so big. Like, so big.
Welcome back to the Tap Takeover Podcast, and we're here for a very special interview with a second interview with Russ Klisch. We're bringing it all back around to the first episode, the first interview that we ever did for the podcast. So, Russ, thanks for joining us again.
Sure, thanks for coming on over.
And this is going to be, instead of our typical brewery interview series, this is going to be our Cellar series. We're going to take a walk through Russ's cellar. We're going to do a little vertical of the Black Friday.
And I got a couple other little things.
Okay, all right.
Russ kind of challenged us in that very first episode and said, if you guys ever want to come back and see what some beers taste like after a few years of aging, and we definitely wanted to take him up on that. So here we are, back at the brewery in preparation for the Black Friday event, which is going to be 2 days from now. It'll be in our rear view when this episode is actually published. Yeah, this is going to be a really fun event. Why don't you tell us about the early Black Fridays and how it kind of changed between the beer styles leading into what we're currently going to be doing this coming Friday?
All right, yeah, the original one was an Imperial Black IPA, India Pale Ale, and that was a very hot style back then, and I thought we did it very well. I thought people had it, and in fact, I still remember the time somebody dropped a case of it and it smashed, and it was like the whole room smelled like hops. It was it was one of those sensations or sensory perceptions that you have that you don't forget because it smelled so great, even though we lost some bottles on that. But so we knew we did a well job and a very good job of getting both bitterness and aroma and flavor into this beer. But I also noticed that there was a lot of people aging it, so we decided to change the recipe somewhat and make it more into a bourbon barrel aged, because we went from Imperial. I think we did the Imperial. I gotta make sure I even read these late. We went 2 years.
The first 2 years.
First 2 years, yeah, we did the Imperial India style there, and then we went and started to aging in bourbon barrels because we knew people were aging it in there. So usually we were using bourbon, made it more malty. Then we did hoppy, and so then we've been aging it in bourbon since then. And so we have that, and so I'm interested. I never really have done the vertical before on these, so I'm excited to see how they have aged and how they've grown in taste and flavor.
I'm curious to open, if you don't mind. Let's just start with the 12 because going back to our first episode, you were the one that said, "What are you doing holding on to these beers?"
Yeah.
So now I'm curious to see what you actually taste when you go back and try these.
I'll tell you what. Let's maybe do a side by side with the 12 and the 13. We'll do the two Black IPAs side by side and see kind of how an extra year might have changed those.
Yeah, I'll have to say I was a little disappointed when I heard you were moving away from the Black IPA because it was an awesome beer. It really is. It turns out you're a little reminiscent in catching the wave of the bourbon barrel aged stouts ahead of time.
Yeah, so we got that going. We've done well. I never really thought about it until this last year we went to FOBAB, and the fact we won our fourth medal there this past year, and now we've been put in the Hall of Fame of FOBAB.
Wow.
And so that was nice.
That's incredible.
And so obviously we have been doing decent with our barrel age program.
So what did you win your fourth medal for? What was the beer?
It was
one of Jesus' favorites.
Brandy barrel aged pumpkin. We got silver. So we did a nice job on that.
Actually, we just recently did an episode. We called it a walk through Jesus' pumpkin patch, and he was kind of turning us on to some of his favorite pumpkin beers. And we did two different versions. I think it was the 2015 and the 2017 pumpkin spiced pumpkin spice beer that you guys do in the brandy barrels.
Yeah, the Imperial Pumpkin, that one you stepped up to over 10% alcohol.
Yeah, I think it went from 9.5 to like 13.5. Can you speak to that jump in alcohol on those?
Yeah, well, it just turns to get a little more barley and a little more honey in there, and that's what you end up with.
There you go.
So that's what happens. Or
Pro
I
tip
think
from
the
Russ.
10 was probably a little bit higher than it really should have been, and I think that was miscalculated. It was always higher. All right, it's
All right.
So these are the two Imperial IPAs.
Okay, so the first one was the 2012, and then
12.
the second was the 2013.
12 to me is giving me this kind of barley wine aroma.
It's definitely where it went.
Yeah, I'd say it's still exceptionally tasty.
Yeah, it's very tasty.
Hops have obviously dropped off considerably.
Yeah, I'm not getting the big hop nose that I once did in this beer. So it does show that the hops do dissipate, but they with any beer. But I don't think there was negative on this. Sometimes you get some other negative flavors with hops.
I'll tell you what, I don't detect a lot of difference between the 12 and 13. I don't think an extra year made much of a difference, but I will say I think barley wine, Jim, was a good description. It's got some of those same qualities.
The malt in this is really coming through.
Yeah, you get kind of the prune raisin with flavor of that.
Yeah,
that's what I normally find with a lot
stone
of aged
fruits.
beers.
Yeah, candy
some
raisin kind of thing coming through.
But I do remember these being really hoppy, fresh.
Yeah.
So I think we can, though, still recommend that if you've got any of these somehow squirreled away, probably drink them up.
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
that year. I'm enjoying this here.
Do you
No,
notice?
that's
Very good.
very
So do you notice a difference, Jim? I mean,
They are very similar.
One thing I'm kind of noticing
I think-
that the 13s look more carbonated.
yes.
Is that what it is? There's a
Yeah,
A little bit more of a
Zest?
punch
there's a
on
little
the top.
bite.
yeah, a little tingle.
It does seem like the 2013. There is just a slight more, a little more pronounced hop on the 2013. It's fallen off considerably, but less so than the 2012.
And the recipe was identical, right?
For mine.
Has the recipe for the stout remained identical over the years?
Usually they tweak it a little bit. I know this year I think they put a couple were in rye barrels too. We got some rye barrels, so it's kind of like a blend between rye and
Ryan Bourbon.
bourbon.
But it's still going to be one kind of Black Friday beer, right? Or is it going to
Yeah.
be multiple?
Well, today, I mean, there's only going to be one style. I mean, we blended everything we had together
Okay.
that we did with every barrel. So you get every barrel's a little bit different, I think, in flavor that you get, and then you get the distillery, it makes it a little bit different, and there's a lot of other little factors that go in there. Did you want to try the next two now, or?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
go.
let's do
Absolutely.
it.
Now we're moving on to the new Imperial Stouts aged in bourbon barrels.
So is there any plans to do any like variations with adjuncts with these, or no? Just gonna keep them pretty straightforward bourbon barrel aged stouts.
Right now it is. I know there's always talk about it and what we should be doing, and
Seems like the market's like heavily saturated with those types of stouts right now too, especially the pastry stouts.
we'll probably have a discussion this next year when we bring it out and what we want to try to change with the recipe. I know it's been so successful. We do have a lot of people complimenting, I don't change anything, or they love it, and no matter which way you go, you're not going to win on this to try to get public opinion, but I guess we should be the people setting the bar anyway. I guess that's what I look at it.
Yeah, there are not many just straight Imperial Stouts and bourbon barrels where you allow the barrel to shine through, and it's getting a little adjunct crazy.
It is, it really is.
What did you see the other day? There's a waffle stout. They put waffles in the mash.
I got chicken and waffle stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had the coffee and cakes from Hubbard's
yeah.
Cave, and
Yeah.
that's real heavy on the adjuncts. It's delicious. They're all delicious beers, but yeah, it's getting pretty far away from the original intent.
There's something to be said with it. That barrel just shines through.
I know we thought about it one time for the winter seasonal instead of like the winter spice, that we would have the a fruitcake one,
Okay.
and it would be one of those things where it's kitschy, but it would sell. But I'm not sure if that's really what you want.
Wait, so the 14 and the 15 here, these are two of the beers that are going into the blended beer that you guys are doing
that's
this year,
going in
right?
for the special reserve.
Now,
I can still smell the bourbon.
So that
15's still a little hot.
Yeah.
I mean, the 14 is just completely mellowed. Just the smokiness of the barrel is just fantastic and shining through on it.
Yeah, when we did that vertical, our very first episode, I think we all agreed the 2014 was the perfect example of a barrel aging just completely blending into the beer after a few years of aging in the cellar.
You guys actually had the 2014 leak out a couple barrels this year. You had one at State Fair. right?
Yeah, we still got them. I mean, I'm still surprised where they squirrel these things away in the warehouse. I don't find out, but these sales guys want to have some special tappings, and they'll grab them and they'll squirrel it away under some sort of tarp or something that I don't know about. But it's not bad. It's good to have it out there. And it does raise awareness, and that's the whole thing about beer, and the whole thing about aging beer is that you can do this, and it's when I see a lot of small breweries, I think that this is a very profitable center to have them to have some big special beer that they can have and have I don't see any reason why people should not have a beer cellar. Everybody talks about wine cellars at home. They have a wine cellar there, and I got this bottle of that, and to me this holds up to any bottle of wine, or even more enjoyable to me than a lot of bottles of wine. And so why not have it?
It's interesting you say that, because during the whole year, we've learned that from you about the aging process, and even the logo that you started kind of with Mopcraft with the... Uh-huh. But it's been very controversial. Different breweries that we've been to would drink it now. It's like, why are you aging beer? I don't have a cellar. It's like, it's very unique. I guess it's interesting to hear your thoughts now, is that this is like a wine. You can age it. Yeah. It's an experiment, right? It
is, and one of the things is it does age in the bottle as compared to where if you take like Scotch and you got some 20-year-old Scotch, it's not going to age after you take it out of the barrel. It's not going to go. But there's still, like yeast that's in this bottle, it's still going to change the flavor. The flavors continue to change while it's in the bottle. And, to me, there's different opinions on when bottles, peak of what different styles of what types. But I've had beers, 20, 25 years old, and I still feel, they're good and they're exceptionally tasty, and they do change, and they do have great flavor to them. And it is quite the science. It's not something that you can dial in and try this week and come up and try it a couple weeks in a row or a year in a row. This is like a lifetime dedication to something like this, where you start brewing something and you really don't get the result until 10 years later. And then, if you really got the proper stuff, and then you have to go back and it's like, what did I do? Take notes, go back and try changing it. You look back at, or look at somebody like from Belgium, where, they age a lot of their beers, and it's like, well, it's a couple years old before it really starts getting good. And it's like, where in the world did you ever, take the time or have that or understand this? And you just think about the process that's going on to dial that one in. And that was, to me, generations of people that have come and gone to make it that way.
Yeah, just getting back to this beer here, the head retention, the lacing on these glasses, the lacing on these beers is still amazing. But to kind of wrap up, the aging, it can age for too long on some beers, though, right? I mean, you can start to get too much astringency or that paper cardboard character.
Yeah, there's two major factors that go into deteriorating beer flavor. One's oxygen, the other one is bacteria. Some bacteria that are in there actually can improve it after a while. That's why a lot of Belgians improve after a certain period of time. But air is something that gives it the cardboard flavor. And if you have too much air in there, it's going to be quite detrimental. So, we have a good bottling machine downstairs right now, very low airs, so I don't think it's affecting that much. If you do need some oxygen for the yeast to keep growing, keep activating in there, but I'll pull out a couple beers here. I think you'll be amazed, and I like to think on the flavor, as old as they are, and how they've improved through the years. And I think you can go longer with these beers and have a great flavor. Because, to me, I'm tasting these two, and it's like I say, it's if anything better than I think the day that we sold them. On these last two here.
Yeah.
They really tend to mellow out, and those flavors just settle into the beer.
Yeah.
And, that's something that we've definitely learned since we did that vertical in our very first episode of these beers. At that point, the 2014 we thought had been blended perfectly with the barrel, and now we're trying that 2015 a year later, and it seems to be doing the exact same. That extra year of aging is, the barrel's really speaking now, and we have talked about the blended beer that you guys are doing this year, the Triple X, and I don't want to take all the credit on the podcast for the idea to do the Triple X, because we did that vertical and maybe some of your brewers heard it. I don't want to take all the credit, but
just some of the credit.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the bottling process. In that first interview, you talked about how you guys are kind of getting away from the bombers because it's quite a process to switch over to doing the bombers from doing the canning that you guys are doing and the 12-ounce bottles. Was it an even a bigger chore this year because of the blended beers, or was that all pretty much done before the bottling line?
Well, the main reason, to be honest with you, we got away from the 22 ounces is 22 ounces is not a great package. It has come and gone a couple times in my life in the brewing industry. Back in the 90s, it was all of a sudden hot at one time, and then people stopped buying them. And then somewhere around 2008, it came, or somewhere around then, it came back again. Everybody's buying bombers. Everybody started coming out with special bottles. We went back to making bombers. And then everybody, I think, flooded the market too much. And you saw so many liquor stores, and I went to them, and you saw the beer on the shelf, and you know the stuff. Some of the stuff was like half a year old. It just wasn't being taken. It looked real sexy in the store. It looked like it was, the store knew what it was doing. Had all these great brands in here, but people just were not buying it. The volume moves on 12 ounce, and so we went away from it a little bit, and then we started doing is going back to like the Black Friday. That's a great example of where you can take it, you put it in the bottle, and it sells right away. And so those are the packages we're looking at. We actually ordered a bottle filler. I thought it'd be here right now from Germany, but we're going to have to borrow one to bottle up the 30th anniversary. And we have a special bottle made a different shape, and we're going to start filling them one at a time. And we're going to have different releases going on throughout the year. They probably won't be here. I'd like to try to have like a time selling at different stores around town at one time. I don't want to always have everything going on in our location. So anyway, we're going to be coming out with different special releases throughout the years. Usually, I think 750 cork bottles, looking real nice.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we have different ones.
So as we wrap the Black Friday, then we can get straight into the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
For the listeners at home who stood in line and have their XXX Black Friday blend, squirreled away in their basement, what's the blend of the actual years that's in the XXX?
I think it was 2015, 14, 15, and 16. I thought it was 3 years. So it would have been 3 years, 14, 15, and 16.
Yeah, what's the percentage?
Oh, wait, I'm not sure. 14 was...
It would all be in the...
No, it'd be...
14, 15, 16.
Yeah, 14, 15, 16 went in. And I think it was like 2 barrels of each.
Okay,
Which-
so
wow.
pretty
So,
even.
Yeah.
So
I think
there's
it's-
no cheating on the, we put a couple drops of the 2014, so technically...
No.
Awesome.
No, I think they had that. And so we've actually kept some barrels of this year aging for next year. So we didn't, all of a sudden, it's not going to be doing this. We think every year we'll have some sort of special beer now. But that's been aged or something like last year's, aged for next year. I know before I talked about the fact that beer will still age in the bottle, and that's true. But it will also age in the barrel. Several years ago, or 3-4 years ago, we came out with a 22-ounce version of a Imperial or barley wine that was organic. And we were like the Three Stooges in trying to get this thing label approved and out in the stores, and we ended up having it sit in the barrels for almost 1.5 years, 2 years, and it really started picking up the barrel flavor. And so we made it again. It's sitting in barrels right now, but I really believe that since we have the last one wait like 1.5 years, 2 years, we got to let this one wait at least that long, or otherwise it won't be as worthy. So we are letting the beer age in the barrel again for that one, and that was an important beer because I remember we told our distributor we wanted to sell it for $20 a barrel, and they thought we were crazy and said it was going to sell on the shelves forever, and ended up selling out in a day.
So Andy brought up a good point. He brought up a good question about the 30th anniversary. You guys have gone through a full rebranding this year since we last talked to you.
Yes.
How have the early returns been?
No, it's been great. River West Stein, it's shot way up in sales after that. Everybody loves the logo. It looks a little cleaner. I know people from the neighborhood embrace it. It looks like something that they can use to try to brand the old neighborhood. Other ones that we've done have done well, and so everything is up for us right now. Locally, we're up about 9% in town and state. That's big in today's market for craft.
So one big part of the rebranding has been the move to cans.
Yes.
How has that been a boon for your sales, and how big a chore was that to switch over some of your production line?
It was a big boom. I think half our almost, or at least a third, I would say, of our increase in sales have been because of the can. And the interesting thing too is, especially this summer when we had the cans, that our regular 12 packs of bottles increased in sales. And I thought there was going to be a cannibalization that occurred between the cans and the bottles, but the bottles even went up in sales when we did that. So they brought a lot more brand awareness to the River West when we came out with the can, and of course we had it in the 16 ounce and in the 12 ounce. So those were really big packages, and So we were quite happy with about how that all went.
Yeah, it's definitely helpful for the consumer. I mean, you can take it fishing with you can take it out on the disc golf course. There's a lot of options with the cans that you don't necessarily have with the bottles.
Yeah, and it really does keep it fresher, right? So if you find something, I don't know, say like a Surly coffee blender, it's been on the shelf for 2 years, and you buy it because you think, oh, hey, this is great, it's still got some freshness to it rather than if it's been in the bottle.
Yeah, I mean, you get lower air. We talked about bacteria and air, and no brewers really have bacteria in their beer unless they're doing some sort of sour or something on that sort. But oxygen is usually lower in cans than it is in bottles, a little bit. But usually anything under 200 parts per million, you can't really taste or doesn't really go in there. And most, like the bottling machines we have, we get airs around 50 to 60. With cans, you might get 30 to 50. And so it's a little bit better, but it's not anything what I believe anybody can taste at this point if you have the correct machinery.
All right, I think this is a good time to take a little break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about that beer. So we'll be right back.
That's right.
Welcome to a special interview segment of Beer News. We are here with Max from Eagle Park to talk about the recent announcement of the expansion into the old Lake Mine space. So Max, what has been some of the challenges with acquiring this space?
Basic things that happens with real estate in general. We had to get all of our contracts in line, which worked out really well. Brought a new partner on, which has been amazing. Really the only things that were challenges for us is we're updating the back of the brewery a lot. So we're adding, I think, 5 new tanks out of the gate. We're adding a canning line. We're adding keg washer. We're redoing all the glycol in the entire back of the house. So doing a really big facelift for the brewery because we're going to do a lot of our production, all of the production this year in-house. So Octopi is going to be going away for us. We're going to be able to expand our canning line to 6 brands by summer.
So what barrel system are you guys upgrading to in your own space now?
So we're going to be on a 7, and we'll have 6 7-barrel fermenters and 3 15s out of the gate.
So for our listeners, generalize a date of when the new space is going to be opening and where exactly you're going to be located.
So we're going to be open to the public second week of April. We have a full food menu as well. We hired our head chef, Nathan Heck, who is awesome. We will be ready to rock second week of April. We're 823 East Hamilton, so we're on the Lower East Side, right a block off Brady. And we're super psyched, ready to rock.
So will you be expanding any of your line and any special releases planned for the opening or this summer?
Bunch of special releases planned. Jack's always got a lot of things up his sleeve. We're not going to announce any of the things we're doing right out of the gate yet until we open. We are expanding our barrel aging program this year, so we're going to have a lot of barrel aged beers pumping out this fall that we're really, really, really psyched. We have a really cool collaboration beer we're doing with Lakefront this summer, and we're really excited to be able to expand upon the things that we've already done in the Lincoln warehouse. Now that we have more room, we can do more production. It's just going to allow Jack to really kind of branch out. And the biggest thing we're psyched about is we're going to have our own canning line, and we have a really awesome way that we're doing cans. So we can do really small batch releases often. So we're going to do a lot of special one-off can releases this summer on top of our core line.
So the special release cans, those will be brewery only, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So speaking of special releases, every Immortal Soul release is changing the hop variety within the Immortal Soul. Can you tell our listeners how they can differentiate when they're buying at a retail location?
So how we do it, this is brand new. Our website's getting updated this week, actually. There is a QR code on the back of every can. That QR code on the back of the can, if you scan it, or if you just go to our website, either way, you can just go to eagleparkbrewing.com. There's going to be an Immortal Soul section, and each one of the 6-packs are going to have a date code on it, and it's going to show per date code, package date, what hops you're drinking. So as long as you know on your 6-pack the date that it was canned, it'll show on our website exactly what hops you're drinking. So currently, our Vic Secret Hop Immortal Soul is going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks. So that's going to be brand spanking new.
Awesome. So we'll wrap up this little interview and say a big congratulations from us. That's huge news and super exciting for you guys and everyone in the local brewing community. Anything you want to say in closing to your fans who have made this possible for their continued support over only a year?
We just want to say thanks to people who enjoy craft beer in Milwaukee and who keep supporting local beers. Shout out to Explorium, because that's where we're at right now. Mike Doble's a great friend of ours, and he's done a lot to support us. So we support all of the other Milwaukee breweries, and in return, that's kind of what we're trying to build, is a great community of great beer, great brewers, great fans. And I think that's what's going to keep all of us going, not just us. And big things for us this summer. Got a lot of cool festivals planned for our parking lot, a lot of cool outdoor events, outside music concerts. It's going to be a great summer for us, and we're really excited to start sharing these things with everyone. So,
Well, cheers, Max. Congratulations again.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.
That's right.
All right, thanks for the beer news.
One of the greatest ever.
Always informative. And we're back here with Russ and the gang.
So what are the plans for Lakefront going into 2018 for the 30th anniversary and that whole release? What kind of beers are you going to be releasing?
That's going to be an Eisenbach. We did lower the temperature a little bit. You can only take so much out before you call it distillation of water. And so we did what the within government limits, but we still did. It is still a big beer. And so I know our anniversary parties that we have coming up we have two of them, one for the public coming Sunday, which I believe is the 28th, I think, whatever Sunday is, and the 3rd, December 3rd is going to be also one for our accounts that we have.
Any special events throughout the whole year, or is it going to be?
Yeah, we'll probably do some tappings throughout the next, because we turned 30 on the 3rd, and so this is going to be a whole year worth. Marketing department comes up with different stuff. We'll have some party here, and we're going to have another anniversary bottle. We kegged up a bunch of the anniversary, enough for different parties around the different distributors that we have. We should have some fun with this. It's been, to me, it's great. 30 years in any industry where you have that you've been part of is to me, I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to make it 30 years. It does say something. Everybody can come up, with the hot sound or hot taste right now, and if you're a music person, you can always live a couple years maybe with a band, but to go 30 is quite the. To me, I'm happy I've been able to do that.
All right, I think we got to move on back into some Lakefront beer, because you brought out something. I thought it was nice to bring out the Black Friday, but tell us about what we have in front of us here.
Well, one style of beer that we've made probably for the longest progression every year has been our holiday spice. You think about right now making spices and beer isn't that much different, even though it is a special beer, but back in 1992, believe me, or 91, it was, off the chart type of special. And so we came out with our own place. That was back when we were brewing in, the old brew kettle. And we started, bottling up. We had a one-head filler. We got our labels printed at Kinko's, not Kinko's FedEx, just Kinko's, and put it on there. And we, started selling it around town. Same recipe we've had for a long time. And throughout the years, I kept bottles of this. And so I have one that's 25 years old from 1992. I have one from 1995, I believe. Then I have another one from 2000. I have one from 1997, and I believe, I'm not sure what year this is. 2010, I think, or something, is what they are.
So you're saying that we have a 25-year-old bottle.
We have a 25-year-old bottle of beer. I know everybody looks at, a 25-year-old bottle of beer and they think, well, can I choke this thing down? And I guess I'm betting on that one to actually be the best of them all. I could be wrong. I know I did one of these before, and there were, obviously some went south. And I got a feeling a couple of these could be south. They could all be bad. They could be the most fabulous thing we tasted. And the only way to find out is if we drink them. And I guess to me it just shows that if you can get some of these at this age tasting good, it does show you can age beer. People want to look at it or taste
especially a low ABV lager too.
Yeah. Well, this is. I think these are all over 8%. That's one of the. I think stipulations of aging beers. It must be above 8%. We put a lot of honey in this beer, so I'm sure it's about like 10% alcohol. I would average. My guess would be in this.
And for the listeners, if you're wondering what a Kinko's label, we'll have that up there, and it's exactly what you think it is.
It's one color on green paper.
So let's take a little bet here. We've got 5 bottles sitting in front of us. Some may have gone really well. Some may have gone a little sideways. And before we answer that question, let's just also mention that our cameraman today, that bottle with the green label is actually older than he is. So that's a 25-year-old bottle. And Kevin, I believe you're 24 years old.
That's
So I think I'll go with the oldest one. I think there's probably some good stuff in there.
So if we put the over-under at 3, how many are you taking the over or the under on bottles that have gone sideways?
Oh, it's gone sideways?
Yeah, sideways bottles.
I'll take under. Yeah, for sure. I have faith in Russ.
Yeah, Russ, these are yours. How confident are you in your brewer's ability?
I would say 2 bad, 3 good.
All right.
Okay.
Jim, care to wager?
You know what? I'm going to go on the high side here. Price is right. 4 good, 1 bad.
Wow. Okay.
Well,
Andy?
why would you say that? Which one?
I'm going to go with Russ and saying the 92 because obviously older's better. Having a whole lot of good feels about this one. I think this is 95.
Was that a bad year for you,
Is the
Jim?
bottle speaking to you, Jim?
Yeah, I'm
Jim's
getting
using
vibes.
He's using his
The
divining
95,
rod right now.
frankly, 95 was just a terrible year, frankly. And I think the rest are still going to be pretty good.
All right. Andy,
Though we're old ones here. I mean, this is really just amazing.
Andy, what do you think?
I'd say about the same thing. I mean, 2 bad, 3 good. I'd
Yeah,
say
yeah.
about the
I
same.
think 3 to 2 is about right.
So what are we going to start with?
Let's start with the
I would
youngest.
say- yeah,
Work
youngest,
backwards.
which is I think I think it was 2010 around there.
And one of the things that, as
was a good
Russ
sound.
opens here, you and I believe still continue to put brewing dates on your beers, all the way back to, well, really 95.
We do. The government gave us a hard time on that for a while, and then other brewers did it, and they didn't. For some reason, they didn't want dates on bottles, but so we took them off for a while. We didn't always have it on. We had it on the side of the cases. That's how I know. I guess I didn't know how to pour these evenly, but
So what year did we say this was? 10
I
years?
guess in 2000. Look at the cap. 2010.
Okay, I've still got
Oh man.
7 years.
all the spice,
Yeah,
all
that
the
smells
spice
still
on the
good.
head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good sign. You can smell spice and nothing.
Yep. Still good carbonation. Mm-hmm. It's obviously low, right? We're going to expect low carbonation on all of these.
But yeah.
And so, do you bottle condition all your beers?
No, this would have been carbonated. All these are carbonated in the tank. This one here was carbonated in a half barrel, the 92. So actually, we didn't have a bright tank back then, and so we pumped our beer into barrels and we bottled it out of the barrel.
See, it definitely has lost some carbonation, but all of the
Yeah.
spice flavor is there. It's still a very delicious beer. I'm going to go ahead and say this is a good one. You guys
a win.
concur?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is
That's a win?
You see some signs of aging, but overall, it's definitely kept up. The spice is just so strong, still
Oh,
on
yeah.
the nose.
Like
No,
I said,
you're getting all that cinnamon.
And there's
all
no
that.
off flavors. I think that's the most important thing when we judge this is
Yeah.
whether or not there's an off flavor, whether there is bacterial infection or severe oxidation. And for this, there's none of that.
Now, Russ, you said you use a lot of honey in the holiday spice
Yes.
lager. Do you think the honey lends itself to better aging?
I think it does. I mean, you look at meads as a good example. I think a lot of meads a lot of times are aged over years, and then it's all honey in there, and so I don't think it's detrimental.
Well, I mean, honey has natural antibacterial properties to it.
Go ahead.
So it very well could, in fact, protect the beer with whatever magic that bees produce when they make honey.
2007 beer. Sounded good opening.
Okay, so we went from 7-year-old beer to a 10-year-old beer. The way it's coming out, I still see some carbonation, so that's definitely a good sign.
Definitely a spice drop off on this.
Yeah, different smell, right? It's like
Yeah, I'm getting no spice, but a big malt.
Yeah, the spice isn't as pronounced, so some
No,
of those
it-
adjuncts have
it's
fallen
really-
off a bit.
No, I would agree with you on that. Yeah, I wouldn't. How do you want to say it? Look at this, and if I was blind and tasting this, would I sit there and say this is a spice beer, or maybe a little bit, but nothing? I could tell something's in there, but I'm not sure if I could tell it was spice.
Yeah, I'm just getting malt, but again, no bacterial or off flavors. Just a touch of oxidation, as you would expect on a 10-year-old beer.
it's weird to think that this is the same beers that we just had.
Yeah.
It's really different.
It's incredible, yeah.
Yeah, throughout the years, we had different head brewers. Maybe that's one thing I should point out here, because you got 25 years. We've had a lot of people working for us, and so Luther Paul, who's our head brewer right now, he came on board around 2002, and so so this next beer right now was not when he didn't brew this. He brewed probably those two.
Yeah.
Helped brew those. So this one was not.
So who was your head brewer before Luther?
There was a guy out of Pennsylvania that came on in for a while, Guy Hagner, and he was head brewer. And then there was a Dirk Konings that was here. I'm trying to think before that. Gary Verstey was head brewer at one time. We also had Mark May. Well, these guys ran old homebrew supply stores. and then there was myself and my brother. So one time, we did do all the brewing.
Well, you've educated a lot of the brewers around the Milwaukee area that are open on their own today, haven't you?
Yeah, there's several around town in Denver. Colin Ford's in Denver right now. Brewers at Westallion, St. Francis, Bavarian Brew House, all started their brewing careers here.
Yeah, but by the way, don't give away free beer when the Packers suck.
So that's one thing that we always like to touch on the podcast is, a lot of people talk about football and coaching trees and who learned under who, and we'd like to talk about brewery trees and who's learned under who. And, the brewing tree for Lakefront is pretty extensive. You have a lot of folks who have learned their craft here who have gone on to do a lot of other things. And that's pretty cool. Do you consider yourself a kind of a learn-as-you-go kind of brewery, a place where people can come and learn and then do their own thing? Or do you? Well,
you like to think when you get an employee here, he'll stay here for the rest of his career, and I try to make it the best. But obviously, in life, life doesn't always tend towards that. And there's sometimes, I can understand some people. I quit John's Controls and went out to become my own boss, and sometimes people want to have their own, say in things and not look at others. And but some other times, I still think we have a lot of creativity here, and we give people a lot of opportunity. And so, I wish a lot of people well, and they go on off and they do that, or go off to a different place, and I've gone to their place and they've been very nice to me. It's always exceptionally pleasant to run into somebody who's worked for you and give you a big hug afterwards and say, thanks for what you've done for me. And, I got a lot of people around the country. I was at the Great American Beer Festival, and I must have had, 3 or 4 people come up to me, shook my hand and said thank you for, the time there. And so it's good. And it's just brewing. And in life, you can't expect everybody just to stay with you all the time.
Do you think that Lakefront Brewery has a bit of an advantage in that realm? The fact that you guys are a very innovative brewery, the fact that you guys are switching up your recipes, the fact that you guys have 30 different beers on tap and you're always adding to that collection, plus the fact that you guys do the My Turn series and you let some of your employees do their own beer. Do you think that it kind of edges out some of the folks that are thinking about leaving, might stay with you a little longer?
I like to think so. I like to think that we still have some warts here, and how easy it is, and maybe not have the best locker room or place, a lunchroom or places to sit down, or not the cushiest offices, but we have a lot of other things other breweries don't have. I think we have really good brewing systems for cleaning and for working, and machines that we have here that are state of the art in a lot of ways. And I look at that as the education and that you can have, or the creativity that we do here, and we continue to to play with a lot of stuff. And so I believe that we have employees here that they can still come up with a lot of fun different brews. That's what we try doing. One thing that's different about me compared to a lot of other breweries is that I own 100%. So I have the focus more on the employees than probably on the shareholders. So many other breweries, I'm sure they're under the gun to try to prevent, bring some sort of financial backing, or let's do a beer that the shareholder wants, or talks about. And I've heard that from so many different presidents of breweries. And so that's one thing here. I think we're just a little more. I like to think we're more fun, have some more fun, do what we have here, and to make beer good and make good beer.
Awesome.
So getting back to this is, I believe, 15 years old now. The 2005.
Well, hang on, Jim. Before we go there, let's get the verdict on the 2010. I'm going to say good. You guys in agreement? The 2010 was still a win.
Yeah, the 2010 is definitely a win.
I'm gonna say solid non-fail.
Yeah.
Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't consider it the strongest. I mean, I didn't consider it, that spicy in flavor. I know throughout the years we made this beer, there was a lot of people that were saying, it's too spicy, not spicy enough. And every year we kind of would change it, and we kind of learn how to put the spices in. And, just like we talked before about aging beers, and this is like a generations process. Using spices is a very delicate thing to do, and learn how to do it so you get the good flavor. And sometimes we were too much and too little, and I think that, the last one was a little bit too little. But now, but we weren't thinking about, we're going to drink this 10 years later. Let's spice it for then.
Well, speaking of 10 years later, or even 12 years later in this 2005, I'm actually getting less carbonation than the last one, but more spice. Are you guys getting that same?
Way more spice, yeah. You can definitely tell it's an older beer, but I think the spice blend on this, for whatever reason, really is retained.
It's still perfect. That is a perfect blend
this
of
is
spices.
speaking Christmas to me. I mean, when I think of Christmas, whatever's happening in this bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one was really flat. I mean, like an old beer, you would think.
Well, it had some carbonation, but yeah, I mean, you look at this just a few minutes later, all the remaining carbonation's gone.
The nose is in there, but that taste is intense.
Yeah.
It's still spicy.
It tastes like stockings over the chimney and presents under the tree. This is Christmas lager right here.
Very good. This was a win.
Uncle in a bad sweater.
All right, so we got 3 good wins at least. So next 2 can
3
sneak
wins,
in.
yeah. This is, wow.
We got
Better
better 50% already. Now this is the one you say had the bad girlfriend during the year or something.
That's my bad one. No, 95. I did not have a good girlfriend.
Jim had his heart broken in 95 by beers and ladies.
I think the only good thing that came out in 95 was Nuclear's IPA.
That's really specific.
So we're talking about Christmas beer here that you guys make. And when we first interviewed you, you had talked about possibly doing a box set for the holidays of the My Turn series. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but is that something that's still in the works?
Oh, sure.
It's definitely on the radar. We can we'll think about it and we'll see if we can do that. We just got to get our act. We got too many other things. So the rebranding and everything else with us was just.
It's been quite a year. Yeah.
Quite a year. You wouldn't think that it would be.
It's your 30th.
Yeah. So a lot happening. So hopefully maybe next year we can try that.
Yeah, we like that idea that you had about doing maybe a voting system on which beers that folks wanted to bring back from the My Turn.
It'd be a great thing online to have. Where everybody sits there and picks their. Instead of me picking the favorite kid.
which is who again?
It's my brother. Yeah. No, it's
Yeah. When is Jim's My Turn coming up?
Well, it's River West Stein. That was his original homebrew recipe, so I'm going to give that to him.
He's had 30 My Turns out.
Yeah.
He was an OG My Turn.
So how many years? This is 20?
This would, I think, be 22.
22.
This is nice. Super mellow.
God
Do you
damn
think
it.
so?
It might all be
spice is
wins.
gone.
No, but you get the spice. The thing about this, we have to get the spice, and you get the spice here.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the spice.
There's still spice
even
left.
more so than the 2010. I think it might have just been the 2010 that the spice on the
we had a low
recipe was.
spice.
Yeah, that 2010 was.
It kind of
flat.
fell off. I don't know what happened there. I don't know.
get
So
more.
you said it was actually a different bottling process for all these? Or?
Yeah, well, we had different bottling machines. And so the first 2 we had were off a newer style Meyer filler that had a stainless steel bowl on it. And then the last 2 actually were off a brass bowl that had a coating on it. And so these things were not good. These came out of a soda plant, and they were known for a little bit higher air than we currently have. But this one, I mean, you think about it, you saw the yeast, and to me, I'm getting a little more winey flavor in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. For me,
Which I don't know if it's bad, but I don't think it's.
Yeah, there's something just off. Similar to my girlfriend in 1995, just not quite right.
Jim's not gonna. Jim's already sold. Like,
It's all
he
her
doesn't,
fault,
He
right?
doesn't like this. He's not gonna like it. I do like it. I just like the spice. That's what I'm looking for in these.
Yeah.
You know? And I think this is here.
I tend to agree with Jim. 95 was not a terrible year for me, but this one, there is a little off. The spice is definitely there, but the beer underlying it is just a little off.
Yeah, just something in the aftertaste again. This is a.
What was her
hugely-
name, Jim? What was her name?
No, Lisa.
Bitch.
But honestly, I'm surprised that this one has carbonation at all. That's a surprising
I mean,
fact.
I don't know
20
who
years
your
later,
cap
still-
manufacturer is on these, but they have held up.
Yeah, they don't make them like this anymore.
You're getting a lot of like nutmeggy flavors out of
All
this
right.
one.
So here's the 25-year-old.
The crown jewel.
Kevin already called dibs on the bottle.
So Russ, tell us.
No, yeah, there was nothing there.
So Russ, tell us. Drinking some of these beers from ages ago,
that's good,
does it bring any memories to mind? Can you tell us some fun stories about brewing back in the day, 20, 25 years ago?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you one story. I thought that was rather interesting is when I used to work for John's Controls. I actually worked the brewery and worked the at there for several years. It was until 1995 that I actually quit and went full time, even though I had 6 employees working for me at that time. And I would travel around to a lot of small breweries. And past year, there was actually one brewery I went to called the Reinheitsgebot Brewery in Plano, Texas. There was something online about it. And I had taken a bunch of pictures of this brewery, and I went and scanned them all and sent them to this historian in Texas, and we were amazed about what we all saw. And you looked at that, and it was like there was no piece of equipment in there that was bought from a brewery manufacturer. He manufactured everything in there. He made his own grain mill. He made his own lauter tun. He looked at the brew kettle, and he took a little hot water heater and put it underneath there. And so that's what it was back then. If you wanted a piece of equipment, you made it yourself. So like the bottling machine that this was made off of, I made myself. It was one-headed filler out of scraps I got from John's Controls, and that's what kind of brewing was back then. I don't know. I got to taste this.
This is a win for me.
Andy,
especially at 25.
What do you think?
I would say no.
You've been shaking your head since you first tried it.
Not a fan of this one.
Is anybody else picking up like black licorice flavors on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what your spice blend was on this, but I would say it's definitely anise. A lot of anise is coming through. The star anise, I would say, specifically, that would give that kind of black licorice kind of flavor. I mean, it seems darker than the others, so I don't know if your malt bill has changed at all throughout the years.
I think we use the same, close to the same spices. I just think it's age of the spices and how it blends with the beer. But we didn't put any anise in there. I'm sure that it was clove. Might have had the cinnamon, nutmeg that you had on it. But no, it's. I would expect it a lot worse almost for 25 years. I still think this is. I think I almost like this one better than the last one, but my own personal. In the 95, I think the Lisa beer was bad. It was,
yeah, we all agree with that.
Yeah, Russ. The Lisa beer, it didn't hold up. I agree. I like this one better than the last one.
Is there any coriander in there?
Could have been. I'm not sure what the brewers all. I mean, I look back at that day. And
it's 25 years ago, Andy.
There's a lot of beers in between 92 and today.
Do you want them to pull out the notebooks from 25 years ago? Jesus.
Probably could not, but
that's the taste I was getting off of it.
Probably could, but I won't. No, I think it's very good. You still get the spice, but it's not as intense. It's good.
What amazes me is actually the lack of oxidation in this. I've had some beers that have been 10 plus years where the oxidation was just completely oxidized.
Oh shit! Okay, that pause. We're gonna leave that in. That was a dramatic pause because Russ just went into the bucket of fun. Pulled out you tell us, what did you bring out?
That's our first barley wine we ever made. So I really trying to figure out the year for this one. I wasn't sure if this was like. This was done like 2000 or 1997 or somewhere around there.
I thought the real surprise was going to be the holiday spice beer vertical, but no, here we go. Now it's getting real.
It's only 7 ounces for 6 people. So we figure out how to divvy this one.
No, it's nice to know you, Kevin.
Sorry, Kevin.
Only those have actually had beer that's younger than them.
I don't know if you're old enough for this beer. No, we're just kidding. Kevin's going to get some of this beer. We're all going to divide it up nicely. It's even in a different kind of bottle. I mean, completely different than anything I've seen from you guys.
Well, back then it was kind of popular to do these like little small bottles that you would have.
So yeah, we'll post a picture of this bottle on the site. But yeah, describe it for us. What it
was a little champagne bottle. I mean, these were, I guess, mum champagne bottles. We were able to, I forgot how much I paid per case for this and shipping to get in from California. But we got it, and so it's a barley wine, and it was our first one we had. It was like something you sell for a couple bucks, and nobody had seen these things back in 97 or 2000, whenever we did this thing.
And at that time, barley wine was a rare style as well.
Yeah,
it was not obscure.
All right, I'll try to
specifically 1 ounce each.
Saw this down in the basement. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, just another example of you guys being on the cutting edge of brewing. I mean, barley wines before barley wines were popular. Imperial Stout. You guys trademarked the name Black Friday on a beer before anybody else did. First gluten-free beer in the country. Second pumpkin beer in the country. You guys have always been on
organic.
the cutting edge.
Yeah, first organic. So we've done a lot of stuff. Continuing doing things like the My Turn series. I thought that was kind of revolutionary. And
Yeah, it is absolutely. No one, actually, even I think today is really doing
Oh, that was a
Something
floater.
there.
Whoa.
We should. The instruction was shake well, right?
Oh
Sure,
boy.
that is. I'll take that one. All right.
So-
time to ship out the other ones here.
So what do you think we're gonna taste here?
Should be a lot of good.
Hope it's good.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So
No?
just for the visual for our listeners,
Nah,
there was
let's make this
definitely
sour.
a chunk of something that fell out of that bottle.
No.
And
Right
that-
away,
All right.
unfortunately.
It's just the yeast having worked their magic over the years.
Nope. Something's gone.
All right.
Even at the high ABV.
So it's a little thin, and there's definitely carbonation. So those are good signs.
No, but yeah, it's on on the nose.
Oh well.
Oh yeah,
I know
You don't always will win.
Yeah.
that's the first really off one. I think there was maybe
Yep,
one
that's
in the
vinegar.
holiday series that we didn't care for, the Lisa bottle. But yeah, this one there's definitely a little something off on this one. And that's the danger of the experimentation, right? You put things in your cellar.
I wasn't drinking these last night. Put it that way. So making sure pulling out something good. I just found something out and bring them out.
Anything else in there?
No, the bucket of fun is empty. We got to go back out inside and
okay.
do that. So we still got more other Black Friday, other things here if you guys want to taste any of these. But
Yeah. Well, hey, this has been a lot of fun, and Russ, we really appreciate you bringing us back and taking us
Sure.
through your cellar. I think we had way more wins than we had misses, and for going 25 years back for our oldest bottle, that is really saying something.
Yeah.
I think it really speaks to the brewing method and the brewing expertise that you guys bring to every year of brewing.
yeah, if you had a blind tasting and would have given to somebody, I think a lot of these people would have thought that was a good beer or looked at it or better than a lot of other ones that you out right now.
That's true. We bring a high bar to the Tap Takeover podcast.
I hope so. I hope so.
Well, it speaks volumes to how long you've been excelling at that high level.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy about how we've been continuing to go and look at it. And there's sometimes you miss, and sometimes you really hit stuff out there in the industry. But the fact we're still here, and the fact we can still preach beer and make good beer and have a fun place for people to come in Milwaukee, it makes me feel real good.
And I can't wait to see what a win the 2017 Black Friday beer is going to be, and to be able to try that Triple X this Friday.
should be fun.
Is that one actually going to be on tap as well, or is
No,
it
it's
just
only
in the
going to be
bottles?
only going to have the regular Black Friday on tap, and this year we're gonna try to limit it to one beer for everybody who comes.
Okay.
We have other beers on tap they can have more of, but I think last year a few drank too many of those.
And one of those would be the Tap Takeover Podcast. 'Cause we took our partition of the two Black Fridays.
So is that the wristband system this year? That's going to be
Yeah, we're gonna have
for the
wristband.
pours?
We're gonna have one tab's gonna be for getting your bottles. The other tab's gonna be for getting a beer. And so everybody gets a beer who comes in here wants to drink one, and so you can come in here, stand in the line, and have it. And then you can have plenty of our other beer after that.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, I guess this is a good time to talk about the 2018 Tap Takeover My Turn. No, I'm just kidding. So no. Okay. Well,
Yeah, we'd love to do a beer with you sometime.
he's so quiet now.
So yeah, but for now, it looks like we're out of beer at the moment. We're maybe gonna finish off some of these Black Fridays after we cut here, but we're out of beer, and that means we are out of podcast.
All right. Thanks, Russ.
All right, thank you for coming.
thanks a lot.
Welcome anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Russ, for having us, and for me, for Alex,
For Andy.
Jesus.
I'm Jim.
Russ here.
and that'll do it for another Tap Takeover podcast, another solid non-fail production.
He said there's no